So here, I'd like to dive a little deep into this subject because this is your favorite cup of tea. So am I. So here, if you look at the professional life and the self-development, so to say. So how do we, either entrepreneur or professionals or students or homemakers, all walks of life, how do we strike a balance in today's world, especially we are all on pandemic times. So the kind of stress, the kind of mood swings happening, the kind of irritability happens every now and then in families, society, everywhere, even within oneself. So how do we really strike a real balance so that the peace is felt all the time? Yet we are progressive in our professional journey.
Yeah, I think we are tending towards equilibrium. We are never at equilibrium. Even the experts, right? They are only tending towards the balance. They recognize balance is important.
Okay.
They recognize that being at the center, or having a center, being in your own center, drawing your senses towards that balance and center is important. We recognize that first.
Yes.
Then we we ask ourselves, what are the tools and techniques that I can practice so that I can better in arriving at the center sooner than later,
Mhm.
right? So because we have to live our lives,
Yes.
and physically, mentally, emotionally, we have an environment that we live in, and some of it is something we can control. That is, anything from me I can control, but anything outside I cannot control.
True.
So, but I am always interacting with what I can control, that is me, with what I cannot control, with is everything else. So it is natural for me to go off center. It's natural for me to become reactive.
Mhm.
But we have to overcome that nature.
Okay.
We have to transcend that nature
Okay.
and then practice something which is not unnatural, practice something which is going to help us to balance, to center, to be at peace, to be calm, to pause, to perceive, and then re-engage, right? So that's practice.
Okay.
In a way, almost every spiritual practice helps you do that.
Mhm.
It could have from pranayam to pratyahara to meditation, right? And everything in between, the Ashtanga yoga. Or you can simply say, okay, let me start with what I can and then incorporate other features into it so that I can become a master in managing my situations
Okay.
and the self. I mean, managing situation is managing one's own self.
Correct. So the self-awareness is more important. And I have a question here, which was posted to me by one of our viewers, who's about 80 plus, 82 actually, precisely. A gentleman said that, many people do meditation, yoga, and so that they can relax themselves and lead their life, quality of life. But I'm not interested in any of these things, meditation or yoga or any of these things. Nor I am also not so interested in religious practices. But I'm more interested in just listening to songs. Whenever I get disturbed, I just go on to my youthful days and listen to songs and read newspaper, read magazines, watch television, and I within half an hour or 1 hour time I get relaxed. So you people go meditate and come back saying that so pleasant and peaceful. I also feel the same. So what is the difference between these two?
Yes, I mean, it depends on the goal of meditation, right? you cannot obviously feed yourself by meditating, right? Because that's the physical to mental, but you cannot also take care of all of your emotional needs through meditation. So
Yes.
you cannot take care of your physical needs through meditation. You cannot take care of all of your emotional needs by meditation.
Mhm.
But even though meditation can help you in each one of those components.
Okay.
So somebody who says, I want to feel better, right?
Okay.
Of course, you can do a myriad things to feel better.
Mhm.
So that's a wrong construct. When somebody argues, I feel better by listening to music and you feel better doing meditation, what's the difference? But if somebody says, I want to continue to explore, right, my inner, what am I made of?
Okay.
What is my constitution? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and of course we have all the koshas that we talk about, and we have got chakras that we talk about, and then connected to our emotional composition. Take our the spiritual composition to emotional composition, and then have a mapping, and then say, is what does the science say, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
science says that all of these chakras that in the human body that are, let's say, spiritual chakras,
Okay.
they can be felt, they can be activated, they can release emotions, and the releasing of those emotions will balance you. When you are balanced, you are in a different state of consciousness.
Okay.
Now, that is a very methodical, long-term orientation.
Okay.
If I want to feel better today, go for a walk, listen to music.
Yes.
Some people drink beer, right? Some people eat sweets.
Yes.
So again, it is why are we doing what we are doing?
Okay.
And then how are we improving the entire set? Again, it depends on the individual. So what is the question here? If the question is, you are meditating to feel better, I am listening to songs to feel better, there is no difference. I would agree, and there is no conversation after that.
Okay.
Because do whatever makes you feel better, if
Okay.
that's the goal.
Okay.
But if you become inspired to go to the end of your exploration
Mhm.
of what are we made of,
Mhm.
where did we come from, what is my connection with each other,
Okay.
how do I think, why do I think what I think, what happens to my thoughts when I finish thinking, how do thoughts combined with emotions and feelings affect my action, and what happens to those actions if I'm in a state of bizarre mind versus peaceful mind,
Okay.
and how do those actions vibrate in terms of their effects with the others.
Okay.
And all these become more and more of a subtle science.
Okay.
And anything that is subtle is in the aggregation of it, is the effect,
Okay.
right?
You are able
For
to bring.
example, if I eat sweets today,
Okay.
I may feel better. But if I eat sweet every day, I become a diabetic,
True. True.
maybe. Right?
Very true.
And so the things that we do on a daily basis
Mhm.
have a longer term effect.
Mhm.
And so a spiritual practice um, puts you in a different state of being over a longer period of time. And those of us that see it in others start early,
Mhm.
and then we begin to feel the benefit of such a lifelong spiritual practice.
Absolutely. How long you have been doing heartfulness meditation practice?
It will be about 39 years.
Okay.
I think, yeah, 38 to 39 years now, almost 40.
So that's really wonderful. It's really incredible. So I'm sure you would have interacted with the teachers of the organization. Uh, I think two generations you have, uh, um, I guess 2 generations, if I'm right. So could you share your experience with your teacher? Some of your experience.
Yes, yes. I mean, many of them are personal and tangible, mainly during meditation, and also some of the interactions that have had profound impact on some of my thinking and doing and things like that. Um, in any spiritual path, right? Especially the one which is a system, because when if you want to practice systematically, then you are able to progressively reap in the benefits. And so in the heartfulness tradition, um, we have had 4 gurus, and the 4th guru is now in Hyderabad. We call him Daji affectionately. His name is Kamlesh Patel. And prior to him was Parthasarathi Rajagopalachari, whom I met in 1983, no, 82, whom I met on 22nd April 1982. And then in 83, I had a chance to go to Shahjahanpur, where I met, to Delhi actually, where I saw Babuji, who is the founder of this system of meditation that he offered to people all over the world, free of charge.
Okay.
I mean, that meeting with him was very memorable. I broke down in tears. He was 82, 83 when I saw him. But I saw him 2 days. I went to see him 3 days, but I was able to see him for 2 days, but no conversation because he was already pretty weak and
Okay.
In the nursing home.
Okay.
But the connection, the silent non-verbal connection, I can still remember. And I really broke down with a lot of tears, because here is an old man who is giving up all of his life, who's giving his life to everybody, right? Kind of thing. From the mundane physical, one could say that he was very weak and short, but from a mental, intellectual, and spiritual perspective, he was a giant. Very brave, courageous, bold, and very, very intelligent. If we can assess, I mean, I feel a little bit yucky to even assess such people. And so that was Babuji. And then Chariji, he passed away in 2014. He was the spiritual master and president of this organization from 1983 till 2014. And then he passed it on to Kamlesh D. Patel, who is now in his mid-60s. And he has done, again, like every master, they take what they get and try to expand. And that's what everyone should do. The true children of the parents will take whatever they have inherited and shine upon it, grow it, and make improvements, make things better. So Daji has been instrumental in building this largest meditation hall in Kannan Shantivanam in Hyderabad.
This is the world's largest meditation hall, right?
That is correct. And it has got 1,400 acres or 1,600 acres of campus. So it is a huge place, which will, I think the vision will become a center where people can go and learn and meditate and retreat and rejuvenate, and also become a catalyst in others' lives. Spirituality, as I have learned, is not about me. It's about the we. It's about the interconnectedness. And of course, in the interconnectedness, the only thing that I have control over is me. So I start with me for self-transformation, but I fully recognize that, we are all interconnected. So that's where the true mutual love and respect comes in. And so if a business person becomes a spiritual person,
Okay.
I think it's a powerful combination.
How do you say so?
Because I think there is a lot of change in vocabulary,
Okay.
right? It is not money, it is not success, it is not popularity, it is not competition,
Okay.
right? But it is more of prosperity, abundance, well-being, humanity. How is it, disjointed? The only problem is when we think of zero-sum game, it becomes disjointed.
Okay.
But how can any entrepreneur think of a zero-sum game?
Okay.
That is petty to me. So competition that is in the realm of zero-sum game, or negotiation is in the sum of zero-sum game, is extremely petty. And those kinds of orientation will doom to failure. Will be doomed to failure, because how can an entrepreneur think of a zero-sum game? Entrepreneur by definition has to be development oriented, growth oriented, progress oriented, expansive.
Absolutely.
Right? And same thing with competition. Competition is a challenge so that you can grow. You can challenge yourself to grow. You compete with yourself from yesterday. That's the personal development. And you compete with others for the sake of becoming better. Not to kill the other person or not to kill the competition. Don't kill the competition.
Okay.
Because if there was no competition, you would be a dunce. So the entrepreneurs will have to, or the business people will have to change their orientation of cherishing the competition, thriving in competition, and not to have this vocabulary of killing the competition.
Okay. It's a
So
mutual.
that's what
It's a mutual
yeah.
win, as they say.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It is in the vocabulary and resetting of your thinking
Okay.
is the synthesis of the business world and the spiritual world, or the inner world or the outer world,
Okay.
or the me versus we,
Okay.
or the me and the we.
Okay. Good. Very nice. So I think that is one of the secret of your success, both in the professional and your spiritual endeavors. I mean, it's like 35 years of experience surely makes a lot of difference. People who are watching this, viewers, kindly make a note. A very successful, highly successful person in the field of finance in the US for more than 35 years, and practicing meditation and spirituality in a very, very simplistic way. He never used any philosophical jargons or gyan, and very, very practical. I hope the website, if you could share, if you could just spell out some of the links, probably we can place it in our YouTube description as well for people to be able to get connected for their self-development. So can I move on to the last segment of our conversation, Mr. Kannan? Okay.
Yes, please.
It is more very close to my heart always. It's about youth. And I know that pretty much you have been working very closely with youth-centric, as you rightly said in 2010. You did experimented with institutions using Heartfulness practice. It has really given a lot of scope and development. The questions are very, very practical according to me. These questions are not my question. These are the questions which I captured from society. For this conversation, I spoke to several people and got to know about this. Today's youth, I mean people who are in 20s to 30s, let's say up to 35 years, between 20 and 35 years. A lot of ambitions are there and a lot of aspirations also there. It's not just they have only ambitions. A lot of youth always say that I have high aspirations in life. Because in India, at least, back in India, if you look at it, the grandpa generation suffered a lot for survival. And parents, father generation, work very hard on standard of life. The youth of this period, they are really not much worried on survival or standard. They look at quality of life. I'm not generalizing this, for everybody. There are a lot of people still suffer. A lot of people still have survival issues in millions. In general, I'm talking about. So how do they balance between these ambitions and aspirations as youth? They are yet to become professionals in terms of their career.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they understand the difference though. I think they are inspired by something, mainly because of their childhood experience. And when they get inspired and touched by that childhood experience, they apply their own inner voice or inner clarity or inner creativity, and then something comes up, and that drives them, right? And some want to be an astronaut, some they want to be doctors, and some want to become a nurse. They want to become nurses, and some want to go into leadership. So they don't know the difference between ambition and aspiration when they start off. The only thing that I'm trying to say is that they get inspired by some role model, some experience in life that kind of drives them. Now, when you come across a youth, right?
Yes.
I think if we listen to them and then have a broader view of help and nurturing them, then what happens is that you become a catalyst, and as a catalyst, you don't change, or I mean, you may change based upon the interaction, but you can help someone to become an astronaut. You can help someone to become a doctor. You can help someone to become a public servant. You can help someone to become a corporate leader. You are you. But how does that happen? It happens because you listen to them, and with your life's experience, you ask them the right question. You kind of guide them towards the right books and the right people and the right detail. And the youth, to me, is the gateway of the future. Youth is the gateway of the future. Not only the gateway of their own future, but also future of any family, any group, any community, any country, right? Or any corporation. So if you take, a 100-year-old company such as General Electric or General Motors or, Tata's or Birla's, right? Then their future is in the youth.
Yes.
Right. Many of them have boardroom thinking in terms of how to identify and fast track some younger generation, right? So succession planning,
True.
So youth is, very significant uh, contributor for the liveliness and the dynamism of any organization.
Okay.
And how do you help that youth is the responsibility of the older generation.
Okay.
It becomes to me it is almost an existential responsibility. For example, we have new diseases,
Yes.
right? And we need new science, new thinkers, new scientists
True.
to solve those problems. For whom? For everybody, including us that are oldies.
Okay. In fact,
So
I asked a question to a youth who's just finished his engineering here. I asked him, like, you have Elon Musk, who has signed up with the NASA, and SpaceX. NASA sent 4 people today, I mean, last week, to ISS, International Space Station. So the docking has happened. So they are now there. And how many Elon Musk required down the line in this world? And Elon Musk used to say that, he wants to go to Mars and die. His last portion of his life, he wants to live in Mars and die. So I asked the youth, I'm sure we need to have more Elon Musk, better Elon Musk in the future to come. He asked me reply with this profound question like, do you think that he has not already started working on it? One. Two, why should he develop his successor? People develop by themselves, and this is how Elon Musk came from Africa to US and then whatever he is today. So do you think that youth of current generation, this is where I talked about aspiration. I referred that aspiration in terms not on economy or making money and luxury life. I'm talking about their higher level of understanding to do something big for this world. So, but the question here is the balance. They also have phenomenal stress levels. And so, how do we strike that balance? How, even I can straight away ask you how heartfulness can help in this scenario.
yeah, I think it is again, if they are lucky enough to stumble into this understanding
Mhm.
that I cannot maintain and sustain and pursue my aspiration
Mhm.
if I don't have a balance, if I don't have a center, if I don't have an equilibrium.
Okay.
That is a fundamental truth that everybody needs to understand.
Okay.
Right? None of us can go all day long
Yes.
if we don't maintain our center.
True.
Right? If you don't have a center, we have a chaos. So
Absolutely.
similarly, it's the same thing with the youth.
Mhm.
So the youth that has got this enormous amount of ambition and aspiration,
Mhm.
hopefully they stumble into this understanding that I also need to sustain it. To
Mhm.
sustain it, I need to balance,
Mhm.
I need to center,
Mhm.
I need to do a set of practices
Mhm.
to continue to re-energize, rejuvenate,
Mhm.
reset, reposition myself.
Mhm.
And so um, hopefully they will get an understanding through their parents or to their teachers or through their mentors.
Mhm.
But you are absolutely right, Anand, that nobody can sustain their level of enthusiastic action without a base of finding their calmness and peacefulness and restfulness and being centered. And that is the foundation of heartfulness. Actually, heartfulness as a set of practices uh, gives you enormous amount of um, tools and techniques to continue to be uh, the best you can be by being at the center of yourself, so that the creativity after that takes over.
Mhm.
If there is chaos, there is no creativity. Chaos can influence creativity only if you are able to pause in between.
Okay. In fact, one of the very interesting insight which I've been through in the heartfulness practice is about what is your final version will be. So if somebody is able to think through what are you today and what you want to become, what you ought to become, as we read in the literature. So it's something very interesting for the youth to make a note of it. So I have only last two questions to end this conversation. Thank you very much for your time. So the question is about the socio-economic factors. I'm talking from the perspective of India and Indian middle class. So parents, borrow money, take loans, and children study their education, maybe some engineering or arts and science or medicine, whatever, and then they have to get to the job, career begins. Generally, job market is not that great as you know it, especially current times, pretty much tough. So the kind of stress level is always very high in the families. If you really look at the middle class families, because the enormous money has been spent on education. If you look at from school days to college days, multiple lakhs have been spent if they studied in a very decent college, reputed institutions. And how do you, because you are from a finance, you are finance expert over the years. So would you be able to share your thoughts and your advice or suggestions to parents, particularly father and mother? How do they look at the whole thing? So how do they inspire their children without putting stress and pressure to them? Your children are today carrying a lot of stress.
Right. Yeah, let me look for that chapter in the book called The Prophet.
Okay.
There is a beautiful chapter on children.
Uh-huh.
Let me see if I can find it here quickly.
Okay. That's interesting.
I'm going to read it.
Oh, okay.
So this is the book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And this is a chapter on children. And in fact, it looks like I have already marked it from perhaps some prior conversations, from prior conversation. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of lives longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children has living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So he's calling the parents as the bow, the arrow as the children, but the bow and the arrow are his, the creator's, right? And the creator loves the arrow as much as the bow, but the bow must be stable. The
Okay.
last sentence is the bow must be stable.
Okay.
So the advice to the parent is don't live um, a secret life by transferring our ambition into children's, but be happy to support, be happy to give them, nurture them, and especially love them. And they have come up, they have come with their own mark.
Okay.
I mean, they have got their own independence, right?
Okay.
So let them flourish.
What a
So
profound.
I mean, I don't know what advice I can give to parents, but I mean, the sentiment that I had when my daughter was born was that I am getting another opportunity to grow up.
Okay.
And then when she became maybe 10 years or so,
Mhm.
I got the feeling that, I have to treat her with respect
Okay.
because, she is capable
Okay.
of thinking as best as I can, or better. As a fresh thinker, she can come up with fresh thoughts.
Okay.
So, and we collaborated with her
Mhm.
rather than instructed her as much.
Phenomenal. You use a beautiful word. Collaboration with children. It's something profound.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you have answered everything through the book with your own personal experience. And my heart is full with these answers. I'm sure people who are watching this will take this message head on. I have a final last question to get clarified with you, rather take your inputs. Um, when it comes to wedding, when it comes to marriage, the current generation of this time, we are in 2020. So many of the youth, both boys, a boy or a girl, always say that leave it to us and we will decide. And back in India, if you really see a lot of sentiments, a lot of emotions. Of course, you answered for all that in the previous question, but yet, parents have parents are parents. End of the day, so they wanted to get them married on time, the right age, and see grandchildren. A lot of expectations. So, but youth are very pretty clear. I mean, you just forget that we know and we will take care. So, what is the one single, not advice, one single suggestion that you would like to make for youth of this current generation with respect to wedding?
It's a very tough question these days. But again, I think children get influenced by a lot of things that they see and feel. If they look upon parents as good example, then naturally they will move towards getting married. If they look at parents with strife and struggles and lack of affection for each other, that does not lend a good role model.
Okay.
And I have to say that all of us, I mean, including me and all of us, uh, we have grown out of our traditional family circumstances. The need to survive economically and to succeed economically, that has kind of transplanted us onto different planet of living. And so, um, and especially for the children, they are even farther removed from the values of family, right? And so they don't understand the things that makes us want them to get married and settle down early and have a family and things like that. But here again, parents as examples or role models uh, would help them. So I don't think parents should be anxious about children getting married,
Okay.
but provide a fertile environment at home,
Okay.
father respecting the mother,
Okay.
not fighting,
Okay.
yielding,
Okay.
making the family a beautiful place for the children to thrive,
Yes.
then naturally they are
Yes.
going to follow that along.
Okay.
But if they ask a
Okay.
question, why do you want me to get married? You guys are fighting all the time. Is that what marriage is all about? Is that what it's about? So it's a tough. So I think children learn by absorbing and observing. And so when we go back to the children and say you got to get married, they're not convinced. It's a problem. It's a huge problem because family as an institution has to be revitalized.
True.
For a human society, for a human civilization, family is the cornerstone.
Yes.
And just not as the putting together of elements of people, but family as the fabric.
Yes.
So for that, I think we have to stop. Like people like you and me, in our 50s and 60s, should stop and think as to, hey, how can we assess our role as a parent, as leaders in the family.
Okay.
Parents are now either gone or they are very much old, right? And so the children are not with their grandparents anymore. So that wisdom bridge is also not there.
True.
And so it is necessary for us to recognize that we are in a mess.
Okay.
And then begin to redo the parenting so that the children will automatically get inspired to find a partner, and then marriage will happen automatically after that.
Okay. I'm able to now quickly recall the book Mr. Prakash has written, my partner, Mr. Prakash, Peaceful Parenting, the name of the book. So it's more about reorienting ourselves and be ready to handle. So,
In Heartfulness, we have a parenting program as well.
okay.
So, I mean, you can Google it and check it out.
Okay. That's interesting. So with that, I think I don't want to really end this conversation, but I have to respect your time. So we have come to the end of the conversation. So do you have any final remarks on our conversation for the viewers?
No, thank you, Anand. Thank you for the opportunity. And I cringe when people say I'm an expert or an eminent speaker. I don't wear it well. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation, and I'm hoping and praying that some of these words will inspire people and make a lasting impact on their journey, life's journey. That's all.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your valuable time and great insights, profound thoughts. I'm sure it's going to be of great help to the viewers who are watching this. Thank you, Mr. Kannan. Thank you for joining us.